Welcome back to Forkcast. This is episode 3, 23 trending open source projects on GitHub right now. Let's get into it. You install a Claude Code plugin from some random GitHub repo, and now it has access to your entire file system, your terminal, and your API keys. You are trusting a stranger's code with everything. The official Anthropic plugin directory just launched to solve exactly that. Anthropic/claude-plugins-official is a curated, Anthropic-managed catalog of high-quality Claude Code plugins built in Python. It splits into two categories: Anthropic-built plugins under the plugins directory and community submissions under external plugins, each reviewed against quality and security standards before approval. Every plugin requires a plugin. JSON manifest inside a .claude plugin directory with optional agents, skills, and MCP configs. There is even a reference implementation at plugins/example plugin you can study to build your own. The official stamp on your agent's toolchain. You ask Claude Code to find where authentication logic lives. It runs grep, then reads 12 files, then reads 12 more, burning tokens the whole time. Now imagine a pre-built knowledge graph that answers that question with 0 file reads. Colbim-Chenry/codegraph is a pre-indexed code knowledge graph that lives entirely on your machine, built in TypeScript. Across 7 real repos, it delivered 35% lower cost, 59% fewer tokens, and 70% fewer tool calls. It supports 19 languages with full AST extraction, recognizes 13 web frameworks including Django, Express, Nest.js, and Rails, and uses FTS5 full-text search on a local SQLite graph database. File watching uses native OS events, FS events on Mac, iNotify on Linux, so the graph stays fresh automatically as you code. Your agent stops guessing and starts knowing. You watch your AI coding agent over-engineer a 300-line solution when 50 lines would have done the job. It happens constantly. What if you could inject the hard-won coding philosophy of one of the world's best AI researchers directly into your agent? Multica AI/andrej-karpathy-skills is exactly that. A single claude.md file derived from Andrej-Karpathy's direct observations on LLM coding pitfalls. It installs 4 principles: think before coding, simplicity first, surgical changes, and goal-driven execution. The 200-line rule is brutally effective. If 200 lines could be 50, rewrite it. You can install it through the plugin marketplace or drop it into any project with a single curl command. It also ships a cursor rules file, so the same guidelines apply across editors, one file that makes your agent think like Karpathy. You are writing C#, and your AI agent keeps suggesting Python patterns, Node.js idioms, or generic solutions that ignore the entire .NET ecosystem. It does not know about MS Build, NuGet, or Entity Framework. .NET/Skills fixes this with 12 curated plugins spanning every corner of .NET development. There is a core .NET plugin for general coding, .NET AI for ML.NET and RAG pipelines, .NET Test for MS Test workflows and platform detection, .NET ASP.NET for middleware and real-time communications, and .NET 11 for the new .NET 11 APIs. It works across Claude Code, Copilot CLI, Codex, and Cursor through the agentskills.io open standard. Each skill installs with a single command via the skill installer CLI. The .NET ecosystem finally speaks your agent's language. You give your coding agent a task. 2 hours later, it has built half the feature, refactored 3 unrelated files, and introduced a subtle bug in the auth module. You did not want any of that. OBRA/superpowers is an agentic skills framework and software development methodology that keeps agents laser-focused. It enforces bite-sized tasks, 2 to 5 minutes each, with exact file paths, complete code, and verification steps. The 7-step workflow runs from brainstorming through Git work trees, writing plans, dispatching parallel sub-agents, test-driven development, and a 2-stage code review covering spec compliance, then code quality. Agents have been observed working autonomously for hours without deviating from the plan. A project manager that never sleeps and never loses the thread. You want your AI agent to control GIMP, Blender, or OBS Studio. These are massive GUI applications with hundreds of menu items, not something an agent can just type commands at. hcuds/CLI-Anything makes every piece of software agent native by auto-generating a command line interface on top of any application. It runs a 7-phase automated pipeline that analyzes the codebase, designs the CLI surface, implements it, writes tests, and publishes it. The numbers are staggering. 2,330 passing tests across 18 applications, 1,732 unit tests, and 579 end-to-end tests with a 100% pass rate. It has already built production-ready harnesses for Blender with 208 tests, Inkscape with 202, and Audacity with 161. Every GUI app becomes scriptable. You need to send WhatsApp notifications from your back end. The official business API requires Facebook approval, a verified business, and per-message pricing that adds up fast. Armantharis/OpenWA gives you a free, open-source, self-hosted WhatsApp API gateway you can deploy in minutes. It is built on Node.js 22 LTS with Nest.js 11 and TypeScript 5, sporting a fully pluggable architecture. Swap between SQLite and PostgreSQL for your database, local or S3 storage for media, and memory or Redis for caching, all without changing a line of application code. 6 Docker Compose profiles get you from dev to production, from a minimal setup to a full stack with Traefik proxy, bulk messaging, group APIs, HMAC-signed webhooks, rate limiting, and CID or whitelisting are all built in, your own WhatsApp infrastructure, 0 per-message fees. You ask your coding agent to test a web form. It needs to click buttons, fill inputs, check console errors, and measure performance. Without browser automation, it is guessing. Chrome-devtools/chrome-devtools-mcp puts the entire Chrome DevTools protocol into your agent's hands through 37 tools across 8 categories. It covers input automation, navigation, performance tracing, network inspection, memory debugging, and extension management. Headless mode supports viewport sizes up to 3840 by 2160 pixels, so your agent can screenshot at 4K. Concurrent sessions are enabled through experimental page ID routing, letting multiple agents target separate tabs simultaneously. Remote debugging connects to any Chrome 144 Plus instance on port 9222. Your agent gets eyes on the actual browser. You want to build AI agents, but every course skips from theory to a pre-built framework. You never learn what is actually happening under the hood. Rohat G00/AI Engineering from Scratch is a 435-lesson curriculum across 20 phases that makes you implement everything from raw math first. It covers Python, TypeScript, Rust, and Julia across roughly 320 hours of content, and every single lesson ships a reusable artifact, a prompt, skill, agent, or MCP server. Phase 14 alone packs 42 lessons on agent engineering covering loops, memory, planning, benchmarks, and production deployment. 373 skills and 99 prompts ship ready to install through a single Python script. Built-in CI validation on every pull request keeps the entire catalog consistent. The curriculum that ships real code, not just certificates. You have a research paper, a documentation site, or a book you want turned into a podcast-style audio deep dive. Google NotebookLM does this brilliantly through the web UI, but you cannot automate it, batch it, or trigger it from your agent. Tenglin/notebooklm-py is an unofficial Python API that gives you full programmatic access to NotebookLM, including features the web UI does not even expose. It generates 4 audio formats: deep dive, brief, critique, and debate across 3 length options and more than 50 languages, downloading as MP3 or MP4. It also generates 3 video formats: explainer, brief, and cinematic, across 9 visual styles. The library-only install is roughly 10 megabytes or 170 megabytes with the full Playwright plus Chromium stack, Python 3.10 through 3.14 are all supported on Mac, Linux, and Windows. Notebooklm as an API, finally. You watch your coding agent retype an entire file just to change 3 lines. It is slow, expensive, and prone to whitespace errors and string not found loops. Can1357/openwA is an AI coding agent for the terminal that solves this with hash-anchored editing. Instead of retyping code, the model points at content hash anchors, slashing output tokens by 61% on the same work. Under the hood, roughly 27,000 lines of Rust power, 40-plus providers, 32 built-in tools, 13 LSP operations, and 27 DAP operations. It ships 10 specialized web search providers that turn GitHub, docs, and package registries into structured markdown with anchors intact. First-class sub-agentry fans work into isolated Git worktrees with schema-validated results. The parent reads directly. A terminal agent that edits like a surgeon, not a bulldozer. You run an 8 billion parameter local model and ask it to complete a multi-step workflow. It gets lost after step 2, hallucinates tool calls, and burns through your VRM. Antoine Zambelli/Forge is a Python framework for self-hosted LLM tool calling that lifts an 8B model to 86.5% across a 26 scenario evaluation suite, hitting 76% on the hardest tier. It wraps your model in multi-layer guardrails, rescue parsing for malformed output, retry nudges with escalating hints, step enforcement that prevents skipping, and VRAM-aware context budgets with tiered compaction. 3 usage modes cover every need: a workflow runner for direct task execution, composable guardrails, middleware for custom orchestration loops, and a proxy server that sits between any OpenAI-compatible client and your local model. Small models punching far above their weight class. You are running 5 coding agents in parallel, and you are the router. Every task goes through you. You type it Alice- or -Bob- or -Carol and hope the right agent picks it up. Multica AI/Multica is an open-source managed agents platform that replaces you as the dispatcher. It supports 11 agent runtimes, including Claude Code, Codex, Copilot CLI, OpenClaw, Cursor, and Gemini, all auto-detected from your path. A squad routing layer groups agents under a leader who decides who picks up each task, so routing stays stable as the team grows. The stack is Next.js 16 on the front end, Go with Chi Router on the back end, and PostgreSQL 17 with PG Vector for semantic search. Real-time progress streams over WebSocket from the agent daemon to the dashboard. Turn your agents from tools into teammates. You ask an AI to write a research paper. It generates plausible-sounding citations that do not exist, fabricates methodology details, and presents buggy output as insight. Academic integrity disintegrates. Imbad Zarber 202/academic research skills builds a 13-agent research team with 7 modes, including Socratic guided and Prisma systematic review. A 10-stage pipeline orchestrator runs every paper through adaptive checkpoints, claim verification, and a material passport that tracks every source. A 7-mode AI research failure mode checklist blocks the pipeline at stages 2.5 and 4.5 when it detects hallucinated results, shortcut reliance, or methodology fabrication. The full pipeline costs roughly $4 to $6 per 15,000-word paper and outputs. Markdown, DOSX, and LaTeX in APA 7, IEE, or Chicago format compiled to PDF, research you can actually defend. You need to harden an Nginx server, scan a network, or find the right command line one-liner, and you are bouncing between 12 browser tabs, Stack Overflow, and half-remembered blog posts. Trimstray/The Book of Secret Knowledge consolidates 30-plus curated categories into a single massive repository, a 207-kilobyte README that is essentially an encyclopedia for system administrators, security engineers, and DevOps practitioners. It covers network scanning tools like Masscan, the fastest internet port scanner that spews SYN packets asynchronously, and RustScan, built to find open ports faster than Nmap. SSL/TLS hardening guides with strong cipher suites for Apache, Nginx, and LightTPD sit alongside 100,000 AI-generated face datasets and practical hacking methodologies. 222,000 stars do not lie. The sysadmin Bible, one Git clone away. You want to watch a movie that is only available on some ad-infested streaming site with 3 pop-ups, a tracking script, and a buffering spinner every 30 seconds. TrueLock Make/Streambert is a cross-platform Electron desktop app that streams and downloads any movie, TV series, or anime with 0 ads and 0 tracking. It sources .m3u8 playlist links from vidsrc and other providers, downloads them through a dedicated CLI tool powered by FFmpeg, and pulls metadata from TMDB. Anime detection automatically switches the metadata source to AnyList and scrapes MP4 files directly. Pre-built binaries ship for Linux as .deb, .pacman, and appimage, plus a windows.exe. Node.js version 22.12 or higher required if you are building from source, your personal streaming server without the garbage. You need a front-end built, a Reddit launch strategy, a code review, and maybe some whimsy injected into your landing page copy. That is 4 completely different skill sets, and one general-purpose agent cannot do all of them well. Misidarzevsky/agency agents ships 144 specialized agents across 12 divisions with over 10,000 lines of personality, process, and code examples. Each agent is a specialized expert with measurable deliverable standards, success metrics, and proven workflows. It supports 11 tools natively: Claude Code, GitHub Copilot, Gemini CLI, Cursor, Windsurf, and more, with a multi-tool install script that auto-detects what you have and installs in parallel with the -- parallel flag. Battle-tested in production across months of real-world iteration, an entire AI agency pre-assembled and ready to deploy. You need to route traffic through VLES, VMES, Trojan, ShadowSox, Hysteria 2, or a dozen other protocols, and every panel you try is either abandoned, riddled with ads, or requires a PhD in network engineering to configure. Alireza Zero/SUI is an advanced web panel built for SagerNet and Singbox that supports all of those protocols, plus Naive, TUAC, Shadow TLS, and more. It runs on 7 Linux architectures, including AMD 64, ARM 64, ARM version 7 and 6, and ES390X with experimental macOS support. The multi-language UI ships in English, Farsi, Vietnamese, Chinese, and Russian. The panel listens on port 2095, the subscription endpoint on 2096, and environment variables control everything from log level to the Singbox binary path. A proxy panel that just works, no ads, no nonsense. You open a new codebase and spend the first 2 hours just figuring out where things live, how the modules connect, and what depends on what. Static diagrams do not help because you cannot click them, search them, or ask them questions. LUM104/understand anything turns any code or knowledge base into an interactive knowledge graph you can explore, search, and query. 5 specialized agents orchestrated by /understand scan your project, analyze files, map architecture, build an interactive tour, and review the graph for quality. Up to 5 concurrent file analyzers process 20 to 30 files per batch, with incremental updates that only reanalyze changed files. 6 languages are supported, including English, Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. Large graphs over 10 megabytes are tracked via GitHub, graphs that teach, not graphs that just look pretty. Your AI agent needs to pay for an API, verify its identity to another agent, or send a signed message that cannot be repudiated. Right now, agents have no standardized way to do any of this. Get Bindu/Bindu is the identity, communication, and payments layer for AI agents, built in Python. It speaks the A2A JSON RPC protocol on port 3773 for agent-to-agent messaging. wraps every connection in MTLS with auto-renewing X.509 certificates from Step CA that refresh every 16 hours, and layers OAuth2 via Hydra and ID25519, DII'd signatures on top for cryptographic identity. Payments flow over the X402 protocol on 5 pre-configured EVM chains, including Base and Ethereum, with SDKs available in Python, TypeScript, and Kotlin, all sharing one gRPC core. Give your agents a wallet and a passport. You connect your AI assistant to Gmail, GitHub, Slack, Notion, and Jira. Now it has fragments of your life scattered across a dozen APIs with no unified memory. Every conversation starts from scratch. TinyHumanSci/OpenHuman is a personal AI superintelligence built in Rust that solves this with a memory tree plus Obsidian-compatible wiki. Data is canonized into roughly 3,000 token markdown chunks stored in SQLite on your machine, and a compression layer called Token Juice reduces cost and latency by up to 80% before anything touches an LLM. An auto-fetch loop runs every 20 minutes, walking each active connection and pulling fresh data into the memory tree. No polling prompts needed. It ships with 118+ integrations using one-click OAuth and a built-in model router that sends each task to the right model. Your AI that actually remembers who you are. You want a lightweight coding agent that runs in your terminal without a browser, without an IDE, without a heavyweight plugin system. Something you can invoke in 2 seconds from anywhere. OpenAI/Codex is OpenAI's terminal native coding agent, built in Rust. Install it globally with npmi-g at OpenAI/Codex or brew install --cas codex on Mac OS. It ships as a single binary for Mac OS ARM 64 and x86_64, plus Linux x86_64 and ARM 64. You sign in with any ChatGPT Plus, Pro, Business, EDU, or Enterprise plan, or configure an API key directly. It also plugs into VS Code, Cursor, and Windsurf as a backend. 84,000 stars and counting. OpenAI's answer to the terminal agent. You spend 8 hours a day in a terminal emulator that renders text on the CPU, chugs during large builds, and feels like software from 2005. Ghostty.org/Ghostty is a fast, feature-rich, cross-platform terminal emulator built in Zig that is roughly 100 times faster than terminal.app and iTerm, sitting within a few percentage points of alacrity on benchmarks. It uses a multi-threaded architecture with a dedicated read thread, write thread, and render thread, so I/O never blocks the UI. On Mac OS, it is fully native with Swift UI and a metal renderer using Cortext. On Linux, it uses GTK. The project also ships libghostty, a zero-dependency C and Zig library for embedding terminal emulation in third-party applications. 55,000 stars, the terminal your development workflow deserves. That's all 23 projects featured in Forkcast Today, number 3. Thank you so much for watching. Please like the video and subscribe to our channel.